Hello,
Hey,
Linda Morgan. This is Barbara. How are you? Good evening. We are a few minutes early, so I'm just going to sit here for a minute and pull up my computer. Okay. Happy Monday. How are you all today? This is Barbara Perkins. I am coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, and this is Sisters at the Well. Take off my glasses for a minute. This is Sisters at the Well, Real Talk with Love, and I am Barbara Perkins. I'm your host. And for the next 30 minutes or so, I want to talk with you about a really important conversation. I'm glad that you can be with us today, joining us, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about this sensitive and sort of awkward conversation that a lot of times we don't want to have. But we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to have some fun while we talk about it. We're going to take some questions. I've already gotten some questions that folks have inboxed me earlier today. So thank you for thinking about the conversation early. Um, so, of course, now I will put my phone on mute so that won't happen again. Um, yeah. Okay, here we are. So, again, thank you for joining. I see you, Miss Linda. Thanks for coming in. And as I said, we're going to have this conversation this evening about, what do we do when something suddenly happens? We lose a family member, um, especially now in this time. We're all on news overload, and the news isn't great, and it makes you really stop and think about yourself and your own family and what's going on. Before we really jump into the conversation that we're going to have, I first want to acknowledge those families who may be going through something right now. It's a lot. And I really don't know anyone who has not been impacted. Close my computer down. I don't know anybody who have not been impacted by this coronavirus in some way. And then I know a few people that I've gotten calls from in the last 2 weeks that, the stories aren't really good. They've lost their loved ones, and unexpectedly, certainly we all expect to go at some point, but this was not the plan. Our lives in the last 10 days have become something that is almost difficult to even explain. I've been trying to journal and write things down because I just don't have the words right now to explain what I believe is going on. But what I can write down is I can write down my feelings about it. And that's what I've been doing. And of course, last week, Monday, we talked a lot about fear and some of the things that's going on with us now, and how this environment, how this tragedy, this sadness, this devastation, whatever we want to call it, how this complete change in our world is making us feel. So we talked a lot about that last week, and over the course of these last few days, I've been talking with people who tuned in last week about it. But tonight, we want to talk a little bit, spend the next now maybe 25 minutes or so, and talk about um, what do we do? Getting our house in order. What do we do when something suddenly happens, like death, totally unexpected? Whether it's a senior, just 2 months ago, my grandmother passed away, and although we certainly knew she was going, because we were blessed to have her for a lot of years, almost 100. So we knew that her time was near, but when she passed, it was as if we weren't quite ready for her to go. But in hindsight, this week I've been thinking about it because she was in a nursing facility. And I've been thinking about it this week, and I shifted the way I've been thinking about it, because for me now, it's a blessing that she is not here and not in a nursing facility. And I'm not worried about whether or not we can go and see her. And I'm not worried about whether or not when she passes, we can't even claim her remains. This is something we've not had to experience before. And so tonight, let's talk about, are you prepared? Are you prepared? Getting your house in order. And this is a conversation that a lot of families don't have. I will tell you, even in my family, really difficult to have the conversation. My sister Deborah works in the funeral business, and we have been blessed to have her counsel over the years. And but my husband and I, Stan and I, we've been married for 35 years, and we have started this conversation in the mid 90s. In fact, we took his mother and my mother, and we went to Inglewood Park Cemetery, and we met with them, and we just had a conversation about how do we pre-plan for when the inevitable happens. And I'm so grateful we did that, because it really is an act of love when you really take your time and think through, what will it be like for your family should something happen to you tonight, let's just say. If you go to bed and don't wake up in the morning, does your family really know what they need to do first? Have you made provisions for your children? Have you made provisions for your aging parents that you may be taking care of right now? There was a time when my mother lived with me for over 10 years. Had something happened to me before her, would my husband know what to do first? Who to call? Where are the papers? Those kinds of things. It's a special gift to give our families the gift of peace of mind should something happen. Both my adult children, I have children, a young man and woman, they're both in their 30s, and they know that mommy has a black bag. And I'm going to show you the bag. This is my black bag, if you can see it. It's the size of a small briefcase. And in this black bag, should something happen to me, in that black bag, I have everything. I have everything in there. Every piece of paper is in that bag. And so that's my gift to them. They know where it is. They know to open that should something happen to me. Even if their dad is here, Kelsey knows this is the bag that you have to go to, because everything that you need is in there. I'm so happy. Linda, thank you for helping me out. Tia, Morris, I see you. Valerie and Faye, my Los Angeles friend, Chanel, thank you for being here. Oh, my sister's here. Hey, Deb. Danny, good to see you. Detroit in the house. Tracy, Melinda, thank you guys for being here. So we're having this conversation. And if you have questions, please post them, and I'll try to answer them. Let me say right off the top, I am not an estate planner. I'm not an attorney. So I'm not giving you legal advice. We're just having real talk with love. I've been a coach for 20 years. This past January made 20 years. And I have heard a lot of stories. In fact, I've written even a book on grief because I've heard a lot of stories. And then in our culture, the Black culture in particular, um, what we see a lot is we see when our loved ones die, we see the collection plate, and we hear the stories about not having enough. And God knows that's true, and that could happen to any family. But we're here today. If you're on this thread, you're here today, and this is a time, if you haven't thought about it, this is the time to think about it. And unfortunately, this is the time when we have to think about it, not even in the traditional way that we've been thinking about it, but we even have to think about it differently now. The sad news that we're getting about loved ones not being able to even claim the bodies of their families. The families are isolated throughout their illness and then ultimately throughout their death. It's really difficult to even wrap your mind and your heart around that. But that's our reality today. So, as you come in, we're gonna pause, and I have 10 things, since we're only gonna take a few minutes, and if we need to do a part two, we'll do a part two. But I have 10 things that I really want to talk about this evening that I think would help us at least begin to get, and I'm going to go from the perspective that we all have something to do. I did something even yesterday. I wrote down, there's a piece of what I'm going to talk about tonight that I didn't have in place. I have 2 things on my list of 10 that I still have to do. And we have owned, as I said, our mausoleums for over 20 years. Stan and I we bought 2, and then we bought 2 more for our children. And then we actually bought an extra one for a family member, just in case someone in our family, because both me and Stan are from big families. And often we get the ones that get the call that says, so-and-so passed, and there's no insurance money, and there's no money, and we have to take up a little collection, and can you help? So we decided that we would go on and purchase even an extra, plot in case one of our family members needed it. It's a gift of love. So the first thing on my list of 10 is, do you have an emergency plan? And that emergency plan is not just for death. It's for if you have to go to the hospital, if you are on a vacation and you get ill. Is there an emergency plan that your family members are aware of? In my home right now, as I said, it's just the 2 of us now. We're empty nesters. We're in a new state in Georgia. In my home right now, at the back door, at the garage door, there's a 2-page document that's nailed to the wall. It's not even taped to the wall. It's on a nail. And that 2-page document says, if I get sick, if I passed out and Stan needed to do something first, it has the first 3 numbers that he needs to call. Of course, he's a retired fire captain, so he knows to call 911. But after that, call my sister, right? Call the top 3 people on my list who to call with the phone numbers on that emergency plan. On that emergency plan, it has my preferred hospital, so that when you call 911, they will know where we need to go. The preferred hospital is where my doctor practices, because that's where I want to be. Hey, Juanita, I see you. Thanks for coming in. Hey, Erica. And Tracy Smith. Greta Wallace is in the house. Hey, friends. So at my back door, as I'm going out, we see it every day, so we know we're getting used to the fact that note is there, so that if something happens, either one of us, if something happens to Stan, I'm going to get the note. It has our medication, it has our doctor's name and the phone numbers, because you can't trust that you're going to remember all of that if there's an emergency. So we have a duplicate of that upstairs near our bedrooms should something happen. We have our meds listed on there so that if he snatches it off the wall or I snatch it off the wall, we take it with us. So that's the emergency plan. We both have in our phones each other's information. So understand, Lee, instead of having his address, I know his address, I have other things that's pertinent to him should there be an emergency. So number 1 on your list, create an emergency plan for your family, one that meets your needs. Number 2 on the list, emergency contact list. Now on my emergency plan, we have the top 3 numbers. In addition to that, I have a longer list with all the emergency numbers that I would need. Actually, I have about 12 or 15 numbers on there. You're going to find somebody if you're looking for them. But to have an emergency contact list, I have that list, a copy of it in Stan's room in his man cave so that he'll know where it is. And I have one in my room because there was a time when we would remember phone numbers. I can't remember. I don't even, true confession, I don't know my children's phone number off the top of my head. They're in my phone. It's terrible. But we've gotten so used to using our phone for everything. Our smartphones are making us not so smart. But have an emergency contact list that's a little more extensive than the one you have on your emergency plan list. Number 3, you must have a sudden death plan. Hey, we're going to go. Maybe it's easier for me to talk about it because I'm 62, but you got to have a plan. If I'm on vacation and something happens unexpectedly, there needs to be a plan in place. And somebody got to have a copy of that plan. I'll slow down a little bit because that's a big one to take in. Yeah, you're planning for the inevitable. We don't know when that's going to happen. But should something happen, you get a phone call, you want to be able to go to that sudden death plan. Now, here's what's happening that's different. You may not be able to get to your loved one. So what do? Certainly there are options. Again, I'm not in the funeral service business. I'm not an estate planner. But if you are out of state, out of the country, and something happens to you, your family member needs to know how to get you to where you want them to be, to where you want to be. That has to be written down somewhere. There are many options. And we're talking about, in the case, this is called the sudden death plan. I'm sorry, that's what it is. So my sudden death plan, if something happens to me, I'm going to be cremated. That's the plan that I have for myself. And the service that I have will get me from wherever I am in the world and get me back to wherever Stan Perkins says he wants me to be. And we've already we've worked that out for ourselves already. So that's the plan for us. If something happens to him, likewise, I make one phone call. Now, of course, we have a difference in our desires. He does not want to be cremated. So what it means is I have to contact a mortuary that has a nationwide, and I don't have one that's global, so I'd have to work that out. But I have a nationwide plan that no matter what state he's in, they will pick him up and get him to Inglewood Cemetery. So I'm going to just move off of that because that's one you have to work out with your family. It took us a while. And as you see, we have a difference in how we want this to be. Hey, Kathy, I see you. Okay, so the next thing on the list is you have to have a will. We all know that. I'm not telling you anything you do not know. We have to have a will or trust. But the least is a will. And you can, when you get off of this chat, you can go and Google it, how to write a will. If you do not have one, I'm going to say this is your homework tonight. Write it out, handwrite it if you have to, until you can get it formally done. You can go on the computer, you can go to LegalZoom.com and get any legal document you want. Actually, that's what I used initially. I've since done something differently, but you have to have a will. You cannot leave your family guessing. And because I know almost all the women on this thread tonight, if we did that, that's irresponsible. The loving thing to do is to make sure that our family know what our desires are. So we're home now. We in the house. We might as well have these conversations. The ones that are a little more difficult. Hi, Charlene. We got to have these conversations with ourselves. What do you think? Is everybody okay? Send me some hearts or something if you're okay. It's heavy, but again, it's with love, right? This is real talk with love. So send up some hearts. Let me know that we're still good. Okay, the next thing you have to have a trust. If you have a little more assets that you want to protect your family. You do not want your family to have to go through probate. And I see Tia on the line. She's a realtor, by the way, a good one. Tia Morris is in California. She's a great realtor. The realtors can help you with that. Hi, Brandy. I love you. That's my niece. The realtors can help you with that. You must have a trust if you own any kind of property. Assets you want to protect. Okay. You need a health care directive. Something happens medically. You are unable to make decisions for yourself. You have to trust someone to make those decisions for you. That's easy to do. Again, you can Google it and you can find out how to do that. But in your medical records on file with your doctor's office, you must do that immediately. And a copy of it at home in your black bag, like my little black bag, on your safe or your file, wherever you keep your important papers. If we have time, I'm going to go through my black bag and give you a quick what's in it. Then you have to have a power of attorney. There are more than one. There's a durable power of attorney. There's a financial power of attorney. In most cases, the durable power of attorney will cover everything. But I just went a step further. Remember I said there are two things that I haven't done yet? I did not have a financial power of attorney. So I'm doing that this week. Because that might be a little different. You think about it, you get some counsel on it, you decide what's best for you. But that's one of the things I did not have done. If you have small children or grandchildren that are in your care, you have to designate someone to be responsible for them. That's real important. And I did when my kids were small. My children's godmother, Leslie, was just, she was like their mama. And I just knew between Leslie and Deborah, my kids would be fine. And they have 99 plus one aunties. So, but I knew they would be fine, but it was my responsibility to designate and name a person to take care of them should something happen. And the way I grew up in the Bahamas, godparents were, you chose godparents not because they were your best friends, but you chose godparents. It was almost a spiritual thing. Who do you trust to take care of your children in a way that you would have taken care of them. And so my children's godparents are the same, both kids. My best friend from college, Leslie, and my sister, Deborah. That's their godparents. Okay, another thing, this is number 6. You must have, and I have them written on my wall, you see me looking up, you must have beneficiaries on file and have your beneficiary forms. Now, yes, you have a will, yes, you have a trust, but it's also important for you to have, just like at the bank when you open up your account, you have to name a beneficiary, or you should. If you haven't, go back and check your paperwork, by the way, because sometimes from year to year when you're updating things, if you don't put that in there every year, it may fall off. In fact, I went to a bank in Palm Springs and I asked to see a copy of my signature card. Well, remember the banks moved from having signature cards, they went to digital. They didn't have a copy of my signature card, which means they didn't have my designated beneficiary. And so I would ask you to go and check that. Hey, Mary, I'm glad you're here. And Tracy, I see you. But go and check and see if your beneficiaries are named on all of your paperwork and make sure that it's current. We have heard stories about people who did not change their beneficiaries when they had a major change in life, maybe a separation or a divorce or something like that, and not good. So you want to make sure that that happens. You want to have a designated beneficiary. Even though you have your will, it will not hurt. And the things, by the way, that are designated as beneficiaries, they're not impacted by the will. So if, I don't want to do legal stuff. I changed my mind. You need a beneficiary. Life insurance. Let's talk about that. So life insurance, grandmama them all had life insurances. I don't know if you remember the time when the insurance people used to come by your house with a little book. They collected their $1.50 or whatever it was and wrote it down on the book. And all my life, I saw the insurance man come to our house to collect the money. And my aunt, who I grew up with, when she died, I just knew I was in college. I was in my first year of college when she died. And I was like, I didn't have to worry about anything because all my life, all I heard her say was, I'm straight. I got my insurance policy. I'm straight. Well, lo and behold, when she died, she had been sick for 3 months. I was in college. So her insurance policy was 2 months behind. And the face value was $1,000. And I promise you that lady was paying on that thing all of my years growing up. I don't know how many thousands she paid into that policy. And the face value was $1,000. And because she was 2 months behind, do you know I almost had to catch a case to get them people to pay her $1,000 death benefit. They did it, but they also took out the 2 months that she was behind. It was a shame. What I'm saying to you is the insurance policy is important because the funeral services, it's expensive. And I'll give you one example. We bought our first 2 plots in the mid-90s. We paid $4,800 for them. It's a mausoleum and it's a double. We paid $4,800 and I think we paid something like $50 a month for however long it took us to pay it off. Recently, I checked because we bought 2 of those. We bought one, paid it off, and then we started on another one. And recently I checked into reselling them because I wanted to upgrade. Those things are worth over $15,000. That's what they sell for today. Yeah, just like real estate, because it is real estate. So you start now and you pay over time. You go in and you do the pre-planning that's necessary based on what you want to do, whether it's a traditional funeral or something different. For myself, I'm choosing cremation because I just know that I don't want my kids to spend $20,000 on a funeral service for me. I don't want that. I'd rather that money go into my grandson's account. You do know I have a grandson, right? Okay. I don't know if I mentioned him tonight, so he's Emir. I'd rather, instead of spending $20,000 on a funeral service for me, I'd rather them do a real nice memorial service. I hope you all come if you're here. If I go before you, a very nice memorial service with some really good singing. I have all that written down in my thing. I don't want no bad singing. If they can't sing, I don't care how close they were to me. Nope. Good singing. And put that money to something else. And the other thing is, so many of our families don't have insurance. You can get right now, and share this with other people, please, AARP. And I'm a proud card member for a long time now, because I don't know how they know it, but they send you your card when you're 49 and 3 months. AARP found me. I didn't find them. But AARP offers, even if you don't have insurance now and you are a senior, you pass 49 and a half. I know that's not senior, but if you pass 49 and a half and you are eligible to be a member of AARP, you can get from $10,000 to $50,000 worth of term life insurance from New York Life, written by New York Life Insurance Company for a reasonable premium. Check it out. I don't work for AARP, but as I said, I'm a proud member. And if you don't, and then American General, I think, because I ended up getting that from my grandmother late. It was only $10,000. It was $5,000 for my grandmother, but it was enough to cover the cost of her funeral. And that might be all you need. You may have family members who don't have anything at all. So getting this is good. We still okay? Y'all still good with me? Okay. We just ran over our little 30 minutes, so I got a few more things, okay? If you hang in there with me. Okay. Life insurance is a must. We're not doing any more GoFundMes if we don't have to. The GoFundMe thing is it's hard. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's embarrassing. For me, it would be. Might not be for others, so I don't want to put my stuff on you. But, if somebody wants to give you something, that's fine. But to have to put it on Facebook, GoFundMe because Barbara left her family without a plan, not good. So we may have to help each other. Go, as I said, number 11, I had 12 things. I said 10. So number 11, consider the advanced burial arrangement. Cremation is an option for those who choose that. That's an option I chose for myself. I came to that later in life, but I'm good with it. And then here's a big thing that I would offer as a love gift. For the part of your family that may not have any of this stuff in order, may not even want to talk about it, but there's some part of you, deep inside, that they're going to call you. You may want to go and check out some kind of plan. Me and my sister, there was 10 of us. My mom had 10 wonderful children that she gave birth to and one that she adopted. So 11 of us all together. And in the last less than 10 years, we've had, 1, 2, 3, we've had 5 funerals. And I cannot tell you that each one of them was just smooth sailing because all the money was there. That wasn't the case. So we had to kind of do our own little family GoFundMe thing. Not comfortable. Creates some problems in the family, So you don't want to do that. We still good? Okay, let me show you 3 things and then we're out. Okay, I showed you the black bag. I want to show you this book. And thank you, Darcel Harris Lee, for turning me on to this book. We had a conversation like this conversation we're having, and she told me about this book, When I'm Gone, Practical Notes for Those Who Are Left Behind. Oh, good book. It has everything in it. It's by Kathleen Frazier. I don't know who she is, but she's written a really good book that I'm going to recommend. Amazon, I ordered it. It came in 2 days. Then I'm just going to show you a few things in my black bag. Remember, this is my black bag that has all of my information in it. You're going to crack up laughing when I show you some of the things that's in my black bag. I collect, let's find them. I collect obituaries, only the nice ones. I collect the really nice ones. And the reason I collect them, when I go to funerals, if, I get the ones that I like because then I could put them in my little bag and I put notes on them. I like this one because I like the flowers. I like this one because I like the fonts. And I picked like 3 or 4 that I really like. And they're in here so my folks will know what I like. Then I have in here, in this folder, I have letters to my family. Y'all don't tell them. They don't know about that part. And I don't believe you all are going to tell, right? I have letters to my family. They're sealed and they're love letters. Okay. Then I have one section that have all the insurance stuff, every policy, and I got a bunch of little policies because when you have bank accounts, banks give you free policies. Sometimes they're only worth like $1,000 or $2,000. I have all of those. Those banks when they're giving stuff out and then they change their mind later, but I keep what they promised me and it's in here. Then I have a copy of my driver's license, a copy of my passport, a copy of Stan's, and everything that I have for me, I have for him in this bag. Copy of our driver's license, passport. I have a mailing list with over, let me see, I don't know how many. Some of y'all are on this mailing list. Can you see it? And it's in letter form. So like you could make the labels and peel it off. I know I'm really not obsessed. This is just what I've chosen to do over the years. So I have these labels and it has all of my dear friends that I like on here. So if my folks decided that they want to, I got to file that in the right place. If they decide that they want to send a postcard, because I'm now out of state, they can send them a postcard. They have the address. Likewise, I have, you're going to love this one. I have all of my passwords. Oh my God. Every password. I don't know if you're like me, but I have so many passwords. Okay, they're in the folder in here somewhere. I have so many passwords. They're in 3 pages worth of passwords for every account, everything. How to get in my computer, how to get in my phone. Everything is in there so that they can find it. And this one you're going to crack up. I have all my bills. I'm going to turn it so y'all can't really see it. But this is all my monthly bills written out, how much they are, who I owe, why I owe them, and all that stuff is in here. That's my little bag. I also have a copy of the will. It's in here too. What else? I got the burial stuff in here. Now, that's this bag. This is not my everything bag. This is my emergency bag. But of course, we have our other important paperwork in our safe. Like the deeds and stuff to the house and the cars and stuff like that. I don't have that in there. This bag is specifically for emergencies. So they can find stuff. They know where stuff is. And that's my gift to them. I have 2 books that I want to tell you about. Not that they're even related to this per se directly, but I wrote a book on grief. And it's called Coaching Yourself on Grief. You can get it on Amazon, and I will invite you to get that book. It's a small little book, but I wrote the book right after my mom passed because grief took me to a place. And I hope my sister doesn't mind me saying it, but grief took my sister to another level place. But she had taken care of our dad for so many years, and I took care of my mom, and then they were gone, and then we didn't have anybody we were taking care of, and then we had 2 brothers go, right? Grief just grabbed us for a while. And so I wrote this small book on getting through grief, and there's not a day when I don't miss my mother, especially when I was sick. Oh my God, when I was going through cancer treatment, I wore my mother's sweater every single day that I went for treatment. I had my sister; she was the best, but I had my mama's sweater on. I had reverted right back to like a 5-year-old because sometimes you just need your mama. Anyway, that's where I was with that. So I wrote this book called Coaching Yourself. 7 little books on coaching yourself. One was on marriage, one on grief, one on betrayal, and I'm writing one now on finances. And then the very last thing I'll say before I let you go is that I have another new book out called Restoration, 7 Promises of God. And that book is needed now. I will say definitely get it. It's needed right now. Because when we get through all of this, we're all going to need to be restored. So I thank you for your time. I said 30 minutes. We went over 40. I hope you guys are okay with that. And by the way, I see Kathy said that bag needs to be in your safe. Yes, I will put it in the safe eventually, but I've been working on it this last week. As I said, I've been really thinking about this new, I'm not going to even call it a normal, but this new thing that we're going through. And I had to think about what's different. So I actually had some really big things to do in the last couple of weeks, and I've been doing them. It took me a while, by the way, to put all that together. I've been keeping this bag now probably 5 or 6 years that I put it all together like that. Because I want something that if we needed to just grab it and go, we could grab it and go. And so, yeah. Anyway, it's been really wonderful having you here. I'm glad you joined me. Please share the information. If it was good, let me know what you think. I appreciate you being on. Real Talk with Barbara. Real Talk with Love. And this is brought by Sisters at the Well. And that's what I consider you, my sister at the well. Next Monday night at 7, we'll be right here doing it again. So I appreciate your time. Enjoy your evening with your family. And let's plan our way through some of this. Okay? God bless you. Good night.